Hey, what's up everybody? OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and we have it. We have the third piece in this whole console war with the PlayStation 5 recently being announced. People would like to say, oh, the console wars are over, and people don't care about that as much. And you know what? You'd be right about that. People don't care about that. People just care about getting their games. They want to see their games, but there is that one segment that is alive, especially online after the PS5's reveal that I've seen from so many people out there. And yes, the spec wars, the bit wars, now we're in the teraflop wars, is still alive and well, especially with the PlayStation 5's official specs being compared and contrasted to the Xbox Series X. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take a look at all of this technical mumbo jumbo, and then we're going to discuss things in terms of how they are and what really matters when it comes to gaming. Now, if you look at it on paper, okay, I've been going through the Xbox Series X, which I am purchasing day one, and also the PlayStation 5, which I am purchasing day one as well. And on paper, to me at least, these systems are pretty much going to be identical when it comes down to video games. It is going to take developers who particularly look into certain things in order to take advantage of their certain strengths or different weaknesses in other areas or anything. Like, it's really going to be a case-by-case basis, whereas most third-party developers are going to make the base game and put it out on both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and they're pretty much going to be the same, right? There might be some frame rate difference here or there, or maybe a little bit higher resolution here or there, but for the most part, the games are going to look identical, because I'm looking at this stat sheet, all right, or this spec list, and the PS5 to me is a very fast, efficient, and good system. People out here going crazy that the Xbox Series X with this whole teraflop count, and that's the new whole bit wars. I'll give you guys some little bit of a lesson. Back when I was younger, we used to talk about the bit wars: 8-bit versus 16-bit, 32-bit versus 16-bit, 128-bit versus this bit and that bit, 64 bits, all this different type of stuff. And to be honest, at the end of the day, it just came down to the games, because there were so many games that were on certain systems with lower bits, for example, like the PS1 versus the N64, and people wanted to play those games on the PS1 over the N64. So bits didn't matter in that case. It was about the games and what you were playing as well. So I'm looking at this, and with the graphics, right, because the processors are pretty much the same, 8 cores. I mean, the processor, I guess, for the Xbox Series X on paper, 3.8 gigahertz custom Zen 2 CPU. Same thing goes for the PS5, 3.5 gigahertz custom Zen 2 CPU. But the teraflops is where everybody is kind of focusing in on, and people are claiming victory and saying, whoa, look at this, Xbox Series X is so much stronger. But I'm looking at it like, I'm taking a different approach, because 10.28 teraflops, 36 CUs, okay, 2.23 gigahertz custom RDNA2 when it comes to the graphics. For the Xbox Series X, 12.155 teraflops, 52 CUs, 1.825 gigahertz custom RDNA2. So to me, it's looking like the graphics, it's not that big of a difference. It's really not. People just see certain numbers like, oh, 52 versus 36. Oh, wait a minute, but the PlayStation 5, 2.23 gigahertz. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. They're very similar. They're very similar. I mean, we had this with the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Yes, the Xbox One X was stronger in some regards, but a lot of the games, when you get them on there, they kind of look very similar, pretty much the same. They kind of perform the same as well. Yes, the Xbox One X might have had a slight edge here or there on some of the games, but overall, it was still pretty much the same. So this whole console war with teraflops does not matter at the end of the day. The development environment and kind of what you're doing with the tools, the dev kit and all that, that's what's going to matter, so developers can build the best games they can possibly build. Both of these systems have tons of teraflops. Both of these systems have tons of memory. Let's take a look at this. 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, 256-bit. I mean, look at this Xbox Series X, 16 gigabytes GDDR6, 320 megabyte bus. So I mean, they both have a lot of memory. They're going to be able to access that memory. They're going to be fast processors. The memory bandwidth is going to be really good. I mean, all of them overall is pretty good. I think where the comparison starts to get really kind of interesting is the internal storage, because Sony decided to go with 825 gigabytes of custom NVMe SSD, whereas Microsoft went with 1 terabyte of custom NVMe SSD. So you get more with the Xbox Series X. However, if you look at it, the Xbox Series X has proprietary memory in terms of SSDs for expandable storage. Yes, you can use a HDD, but that's not going to be able to be used for next gen games. You have to have the SSD, and that's proprietary memory, almost like the Xbox 360 had with the top loading memory on that, whereas the PlayStation 3 can use on the market hard drives for the PS3. And that's the difference here, because there's going to be M2 SSDs that you can plug in for the PlayStation 5, which will be on the market for everyone to buy, whereas it's not proprietary, whereas Microsoft's, they will have their own proprietary ones expandable. So it's going to be interesting to see where that develops. And then if you look at like the optical drive, pretty much the same there. 4K UHD Blu-ray drive, 4K UHD Blu-ray drive, and then you also look at the release list. It's probably going to be holiday, right? It's probably going to be holiday. It's going to come down to the games at the end of the day. It's going to come down to what people are going to be playing. When you see God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, are these games really going to look so much inferior to the Xbox Series X? No, they're not. They're probably going to look just as good, if not better, than what's on that system. So I really don't think that there's really anything to be a real console war about. People that are arguing about the graphics and the teraflops and all this stuff between these two systems, I can guarantee you right now, guys, both of these systems are going to look amazing when it comes down to the graphics. Both of these systems are going to be fast. Both of these systems are going to run games 60 frames per second. Both of these systems are going to have great content for them if you liked what you saw on the PS4 and the Xbox One from third parties and everything like that. And I think Microsoft has the biggest to gain this generation, because what did Microsoft do? Microsoft went out and bought a bunch of first party studios. They've got the Hellblade developers. They've got the developers of the Outer Worlds. They've got a lot of different big hitting games that they can get exclusive on their system, right? With being the Xbox ecosystem and also PC as well. So they've got a lot going for them. Sony already has their development studios. They just got to get those big hitters ready. So when I look at it and I look at this spec sheet and people are console warring over everything, I'm like, what's the point of the console wars when it comes to teraflops and all that, when none of you guys know how to develop games anyway? None of you guys know how to put this together anyway. And pretty much every single developer that probably looks at this spec sheet is like, yep, we can work with that. Yep, we're going to be able to make great games. Yes, this is really good. Yes, the Series X might be a little bit stronger in terms of overall power count, but do they care? I don't think they care. At the end of the day, the PS5 is delivering what the developers want. Now, yes, there might be some issues with the consumer end, and I talk about this in terms of this whole console war, who does what better than the other person, right? Like how Microsoft revealed the specs in the system. I think they did a much better job in terms of how the consumer sees things. And yes, PS5 is off to a very rocky start just because of the way that they decided to present the information and everything. But at the end of the day, really, it's going to come down to the games, and it's going to come down to like what people are playing. And I think that the PlayStation 5 definitely has opportunities, plenty of opportunities throughout the rest of the year with State of Play and with their own events to show off some cool games and to show off everything. So to me, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this console war that people are raging on online with different memory and all this stuff like that, and I'm like, none of you guys develop games. These developers, they're going to be able to put out amazing content on these systems, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's the reason why the Nintendo Switch, with its 1 teraflop of power, pretty much just one, is still going to sell very well, is because they have the price factor, then they also have the games. It's going to come down to the games, and I'm always trying to preach this, and people sit there and say certain things, but it really does come down to that. I know it's like a broken record here, but it comes down to the games, because you can have all the power that you want in the world. If that was the case, then everybody would just play on PC. If that was the most important thing, they would just spend all their money on graphics cards and do all that. But there's games, there's other things that come into play, and how the developers make the games on the system and how they work with what they've got is very, very important. And to be honest, most developers are not going to be sitting here and saying this system is so much better than this other system when it comes to the Series X versus the PS5. 5, right? They're going to be like, all right, we're just going to work with both of them, and we're going to put games out on both of them, just like they did with the PS4 and the Xbox One, just like they did before pretty much all the other generations. You know, they've always done this. So to me, this whole console war thing is funny, but at the same time, I think that it shows that it's still alive and well in some parts when it comes down to it. But I think that the biggest thing that Sony can do going forward, especially with somewhat of the bad press that they got, is with the next event, the State of Play or whatever, just make sure they show a lot of cool games off. Just show off the cool games and everything. But I did want to add one more thing in here, which was kind of a little bit of a like, oh man, like adult, like Homer Simpson moment. It was like the PS4's backwards compatibility. Now, what we know about the Xbox Series X is that it's going to be able to play all the way back to the original Xbox in terms of games. Now, what we know about the PlayStation 5 is that it's going to play 100 of the most played games on the PlayStation 4. I mean, there were rumors that the PlayStation 5 would play all the way back to PS1, and I would say, as someone who's, in terms of like looking for like the general consumer, right? Like, I'm a content creator, so I'm gonna buy both systems, but if you're trying to pick one, and like you have a PS4, you're like, oh, I love this PS4, and I want to be able to trade it in, save a little bit of money, it's like, oh, wait a minute, some of my niche RPGs or something like that won't work on the PS5. That is weird, and that's very unfortunate that the PlayStation 5 isn't like a real backwards compatibility to where you can just plug in that game, or you can just put in that disc for the game and bam, it works. So just transfer over your content. I mean, this whole 100 most played games, hopefully they expand a bit, because PS4 has way more than 100 games, and it seems like a large majority of that 100 games is going to be like FIFA and COD and Grand Theft Auto and, you know, those type of games, Battlefield and just like Madden, NBA 2K, because those are the most played games. So a lot of those niche or smaller games might not be in there. Heck, will Gravity Rush get in? I mean, that's Sony's own first party. Will Gravity Rush 2 be in there? I mean, so it's a bit rough on that end, and the Xbox Series X has a huge advantage on that point when it comes to backwards compatibility, which they did do a really good job with backwards compatibility on the Xbox One in terms of adding a bunch of stuff in. But now with the Series X, that is the decisive advantage. And you know what the funny thing is for me, why I'm bringing that up and why it's important, is because it's about the games, right? Like, and that's the thing that kind of took me back a little bit. I'm like, oh man, you have all this like 3D sound, and you have all this really fast memory, and yes, the PS5 can do things in terms of on paper maybe a little bit better and all that, and whatever, who cares? But at the end of the day, it's like, wait a minute, hold up, like my PS4 games, like that's gonna be an issue playing all of those. Like, I don't always play the most popular PS4 games, so that was an issue in terms of things. But hey, it is what it is. You've got to make your decision in terms of what you're going to buy, especially this generation more so than ever, because these systems are going to be expensive. These systems are going to be expensive, so people are going to console war it out, because to buy into the ecosystem of these systems, not only do you need to get the system, right? That's probably going to be like $500, right? It's going to be $400 plus, probably $500 for each one of these systems. $500 plus. Heck, the Xbox Series X could be $600 for all we know. But then you also need to buy the online, right? Which is another $50, $60 a year. And then for the most part, I mean, people Game Pass, right? Or you need to buy like PS Now for streaming. I mean, you don't have to, but I'm just saying, like, these are the type of things that they all just stack up. So now more than ever, you're going to see console war stuff, because these systems are getting more and more expensive, and it's not like the economy is booming around the world at this point, right? Where people just have a ton of money. So yeah, you're going to see console war stuff, and it's not going to end anytime soon. Meanwhile, on the Nintendo Switch, I'm just sitting here trying to play Animal Crossing. So what are you guys' thoughts on the PS5 versus the Xbox One, the whole console war being alive and well? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the link in the description below. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there and stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.